Hey guys, Ariel over here at Nyth. Today I want to talk about plants in a tiny house. Yes, when you have a really small space, there's only so many things you can put in your house, but one of the things I think is important to have for many reasons are some live plants. I'm going to go through my house and show you a bunch of the different ones that I have. There are a few limits. When you don't have a lot of space, you do have to keep them somewhat small. Sometimes that involves trimming or dividing or repotting or restarting, because a plant naturally is going to get big for the most part. And before I lived in a tiny house, I had some really huge ones. I had a fern that was like the size of this whole couch, which I liked a lot. I'd actually like to get a fern in here again someday, but I tend to see them for sale already huge, and I need to find a really little baby one or get a start from somebody so that it doesn't outgrow my house right away. But I think personally, maybe not the most important, but the most important for me reason to have plants is there's something relaxing about seeing live things and green things. Even though I live in a gorgeous area and I get to see nature outside my windows all the time, but I think this would be way more important if you didn't. If you're in a city or somewhere where what's outside your window is concrete or something like that instead of trees and leaves and birds and so on. So I just find it relaxing to look at plants. And I like, because the color scheme in my house is pretty simple and natural. I've got whites and browns and grays that are all pretty neutral, and then I've got the blue curtains and green plants. And that's just, again, that's a personal thing, but that's a color scheme I really like. So they provide my color green. But probably more important, or at least as important to your health, is the fact that plants help filter your air. The indoors can, I've seen figures be like 10, 12, 7, whatever, times more, have more polluted air than the outside because of activities and things going on in the house and not getting fresh air exchange. So it is important to get fresh air exchange if you don't have some kind of fresh air exchanger built into your house or system to circulate the air, especially the small space. It's really easy to do just by opening windows. But it's also nice to have plants who naturally breathe in. You know, when humans breathe, we breathe in all the mixture that's in the air. We use up mostly the oxygen out of it and breathe out mostly carbon dioxide. Plants do the exact opposite. They breathe in the carbon dioxides and breathe back out oxygen. So the plants and people make a really nice set of roommates for a house. And various plants, you can look up details on various house plants. Some respirate more during the day, some more at night. If you want to try to put the ones that exhale more oxygen near to where you sleep at night, that can be a good plan. I just have, little plants all over my house, so they're kind of everywhere. But they, and some various plants are better than others at absorbing different toxins and pollutants out of the air and kind of taking it into the plant and putting it down in the dirt and not having it free floating in the air anymore. And some people are going to tell me that you don't have a green thumb. Never known where that expression comes from anyway, because if you're a gardener and you work in the garden, your thumbs are always totally black, not green, but that's just been my experience. A lot of houseplants really are easy to grow. If you get some plant that looks fairly healthy when you buy it, you put it in a pot. This one's not a good example. This is a temporary home for this one. I'll talk about that in a minute. But you put it in a pot that's got some kind of drainage hole in the bottom. I find that's pretty important for me to keep me from overwatering them so that I can see when the water's actually draining out. So you got to put some kind of tray or something under it so your water's not just dribbling down your shelf or whatever. Then in most places with the indoor humidity, all I do is put some water on somewhere between once a week to once every other week and really let it go. If you start out with a good soil or a good potting soil, most just greenery plants don't need a whole lot of fertilization. If you've got something that's flowering, different plants have different needs to be able to have enough nutrition to flower, but if you're just going for green foliage, it's really not very complicated. I think almost anybody can grow a house plant or two. These kinds of palmish ones are pretty hardy. I've got a spider plant that's called that from the way it makes little baby tendrils down on its vines that kind of look little spiders. They're nearly indestructible. There's a lot of plants that are not sensitive to grow. Now, going out and buying an orchid is probably not the easiest way if you're concerned about your ability to keep plants alive to start, because those are a much touchier plant in many ways to take care of. But there are lots of plants. Various kinds of ivies are really easy to grow. I've got some here. I've got a big one up there. And I would just encourage you to give it a try. Get a little one if you don't have house plants, and put it near where you sit or where you sleep, somewhere where you spend a lot of your day in the house. A lot of houseplants are more tropical things that would be in the understory naturally, with many big trees over them shading them, so they don't take a lot of direct sunlight. I still have most of my plants close to a window, but they don't need direct sunlight of the kind that you would need if you have a geranium or something like that inside. That would have to be right inside a very sunny window. But a lot of these plants are not that picky. I've got them on the shady side of the house. I've got them out, away from the windows, near the windows, in the loft, up there, all over the place, and they all do pretty well. So that's just something to think about for tiny house or any other size of house as well, that it's a good idea for probably your mental and physical health to have some plants around, and an encouragement to give it a try. A lot of plants are easy to start new in water. That's just a little glass jar with the cuttings from another plant stuck in there, and they are just starting to root. There you can kind of see the little white roots coming off the end, and that's a ivy. That's actually from this ivy that is up in my loft, and it was just getting really long, and there was quite a few tails hanging way down, enough to be almost annoying, so I clipped them off. I'm rooting them in water, and I can start a new one or give it to somebody else who needs a houseplant. This is a little one. The ivy there is a little one I recently did the same thing with. It was a start from a friend, rooted in water till it got some roots going, and now it's in dirt. And I know there's various rooting agents and gels and things you could use. I've never had a problem with just doing simple water in a little jar. And then that other plant I was just out of little pots for, so he's in dirt in a jar. He'll be getting too big for there soon, so I'll have to get a better pot for him. But he's some kind of a palm type something. I forget the name. Not very good at remembering houseplant names. Got this spider plant up here, which doesn't look too energetic right now. He used to be a lot bigger and have lots of tails that hung down, but he got kind of pot bound, and so because I didn't have room to just put him in a bigger pot and let him get huge, he had to get kind of chopped up into littler pieces and go back to fitting in that pot. And if you can see the very top, there's a bunch of new growth coming out, but right now he's kind of small. I do grow some edible stuff, even in the winter if I can. This is lemongrass, which is, if you like lemon flavor for anything, I mean, it tastes and smells exactly like lemon, even if you get one of these kind of dried out leaves and break off a bit there. I wish I could give you smell-o-vision, but even a little piece like that smells very strongly of lemon. So anyway, I wasn't sure how it would work. I ordered 2 little plants online. They got shipped to me. They looked a little bit beat up when they got here. These browner tipped leaves were the original ones that were on them when I got them. Put them in dirt in this pot, and you can see now all the new leaves coming out there at the bottom. So this is an experiment that's turning out to be a success. So that's one more houseplant, plus I can start using leaves off of it to flavor cooking, which is exciting. And up in my loft, of course, I want some plants where I sleep as well. So I've got this cool little one that's got several different heart-shaped leaves. That one's growing out nice and thick. Isn't he cute? There's kind of some pinkies in the middle of some of the leaves, and some are more just solid green. And this guy back here I'm not very proud of right now. because I'm human like anybody else. That's a jasmine. It actually makes a beautiful smelling little white flower, but I let it get way too pot bound in the little pot I got it in before putting in this bigger one. And now it's kind of growing out, but it was pretty hard on it before, so I'll see if he actually grows out to be a nice plant again or not. That was my fault for just getting busy and not taking good care of him. If you've got a favorite houseplant, let me know what yours is, or send me some pictures, or tell me what you recommend as the most awesomest plant to have in your house. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe, and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.